Hello, my name is Ociel, and today in my presentation we'll cover the economic systems, the economic systems between Japan and Switzerland. Moving on. The reason I chose Japan was because we had a group project in our high school, the Gateway Early College High School, which is, I guess, the next building of the IE. And we did it about the countries and what we wanted to choose. So we chose Japan, or at least I did, and then my group just followed up. But we chose that, and we did it. We centralized our project around that. And I chose Switzerland because it was the first one that popped up. So I think that's more than enough. Excuse me. But first, I'll talk about the economic system types. Japan is set is placed as the 28th in the world ranking, meaning it has um, more economic freedom than other countries do, and it has 70.2, meaning it is mostly free, not entirely, but it has a good amount. Compared to the world average being 59.6 or below, it's not really, really good, but it's good to a point, to an extent. It is also a mixed market economy, meaning it is capitalist, sorry, but it has some government guidance, meaning the government does guide what goes on and what how it's controlled. Uh, Switching to Switzerland, the economic freedom is 83.7, which is better than Japan and is ranked second in the world ranking, meaning it's like not entirely free, but it's better than Japan, so it's freely, I guess you could say, call it. This government is open to trade, meaning the goods or I guess services are offered to other countries and people who like pass by, like tourists or just people in general, which is pretty good since it helps the economy build up stronger bonds or just entirely positive. Yeah. It is also free market and making it capitalist, which is similar to Japan. Moving on to, sorry, moving on to the ownership for resources. Starting with Japan, Japan's resources are owned by people, meaning it's not really controlled or biased by the government. So that's a good thing since government doesn't really have total control and has little to no play. So I think that's pretty good. The land or just a business or company is controlled by the owners, meaning the government doesn't, like, it's not biased. Let's say, I have a business and the government tries to control me. I'm the one who controls it, so I think that's pretty good. And the land someone owns and it's their property, they decide what to do, or they decide what to do with it because it's theirs, not the government, not the the government's. Natural resources are managed by companies, but the government does have some play into it, but not entirely. But they decide how it's used or where it goes. Switching to Switzerland, the lands or businesses and resources are dependent on private hands, meaning the people who own, let's say, the lands or property, decide what happens to the resources they grow. Like, let's say they grow crops like corns, vegetables, fruit. They decide what they do with that because it's theirs and it's not their property. And businesses, I mean, I guess, well, self-explanatory. The owners decide how how it works. They're basically in charge of it. So I think that's pretty good. Um, and the property rights, yeah, they're pretty good. This we're moving on to the strength of each economy. Starting with Japan, GPD. If people those who might not know, the GPD is the total cost of goods or services. And for Japan, it is 6.4 trillion, which is really good. Like, bam, like that, really good. And it's real GPD per capita, meaning it's how much goods each country produces for each person, shared, which is shared equally. For an example, let's say they have like a billion or a million to spare for like people. They'll be like, like I guess 1,000 for you, 1,000 for you. Like it's shared equally and it's not biased. Let's say it's like let's say we're gonna put this much to this place and like little to it. It's equal. So that's what it means by capita. And it for Japan it's 46,100, and this was from sorry for from the website called Index of Economic Freedom, and also I used the World Factbook, which is pretty helpful. Um, sorry, they have strong legal systems, meaning there's low corruption, and that's pretty good for many businesses who, I mean, I guess they have or are active. But there are weaknesses like aging, meaning when people get older, there's little to no workers, and Japan has a population that's not really high compared to others, since there's like limited land and then there's like I guess limited resources, but there's still population, so it's pretty good. The work system is a weakness because since people have lifetime jobs, it's good for them, but for people who need a job, like the youngsters or just people who are trying to find a job or such so and so, they don't have the opportunity. Excuse me. And the senior benefits, they pay more to the seniors. It's not a bad thing in my opinion, but it can be biased since some people will like, be like, I quit because I don't get paid as much as this person. Like I think it causes problems. Moving on to Switzerland, the GDP is 820.3 billion, which is high. Overall. The real GDP per capita is 82,000 in 2024, which is in the same websites I found for Japan. It has strong property rights, meaning it's the same as legal systems. It's about corruption. It's about how people control their businesses and not just from the government or just from people, like a small group of people who have power. It is open for trade, meaning the goods, services is offered to people in general, like from other countries. It's not biased from like people of color or communities, or it's offered to everyone, which helps the economy of that country. There are some weaknesses though. There's a high cost of living. They do have a high income, but coming back to I guess resources or just property or just education, sometimes it builds up and then it's like a high cost, and for many people they go somewhere else or just it's hard for living, and they have to adapt to what they weren't ready for, which I think is pretty bad. And they're sensitive to global downturns, like for example the Great Depression, let's say, that's happening right now, and Switzerland, I guess the country, the government is aware of that, and it happens to, I guess, another country or another one more, they'll be worried from that, and they'll rely on global actions, and they'll try to be like, oh, how do I do this to prevent this, or maybe how do I prevent banks or businesses to go down or just like cut off people, which was the reason why I mean the Great Depression happened, and they're more influenced about what happens globally instead of what is I mean happening in the world, which is pretty bad in my opinion. Next up, standards of living. Japan, starting with Japan, they're advanced in the technical, I mean the technology side, and they are advanced in some other places, but I'm referring to the technology side industry. They're advanced and they're smarter, and they're stable, meaning the economic system is pretty stable, like their income, the jobs, or just their standards of living. Next up, labor market is stable, meaning their lifetime employment and their senior wages, like let's say they find a job, they're gonna be there for not the rest of their lives technically, but sorry, but they have somewhere to work at, somewhere they have financial income, like they're good. And the senior wages, meaning there's benefits for old people since old people can't work like that fast or the way young people do. So I think that's pretty good for the seniors. Moving on to Switzerland, they have a higher economic freedom compared to Japan. They have a higher economic freedom, meaning they could decide where they spend their money, where their land goes, where the resources go. That's pretty good. They have higher incomes, meaning they don't have to worry financially. Most of people that work, but sometimes they're like lifestyles and I guess occupations or just their ways get into their needs, and it kind of like correlates and kind of impacts both. Their labor market is flexible, meaning it's easier for people to get a job. Like let's say you're like 15 or maybe higher, since like here they don't really hire people who are lower than 15, but like mostly people are 18. But for them, for Switzerland, for that country, it's easier for them to get a job. It's not that hard compared to Japan. It is good for having a long term job. And I'm not saying every job they have in Japan is long term, but some jobs do, and it's pretty good. But it doesn't help people who don't have a job, since that like kind of impacts that. The stable monetary policy. Inflation, sorry, is low, and the interest rates can't be predictable. Meaning, let's say taxes go up, or just a cost for, I guess, resources go up. I think that's kind of negative and kind of, I guess, something people would worry about. Money has its value, meaning, let's say, for example, here a dollar's a dollar. I don't think it will change, but that means the money has its value and it's gonna keep its value. So that's pretty good. Since some places they change how I think in I forgot what country, but they change, or some countries it does happen that I guess what its current value can change. So I think that's pretty bad. In conclusion, I think both countries are well by the economic freedom, since both are higher than the world average and the region average. Both of them are like 16 below, and these two countries are higher than that, so it's pretty good. And they're mostly free, not entirely, not little, but they're mostly free, so it's pretty good. And the resources in both countries are mostly owned or like controlled by people, and just, I mean, what they want. And it's not really government biased or really them putting their power into work and just oh, this is mine, this is what I'm gonna do with it. This is I decide, that's pretty good. Con sorry. Different. Sorry, I can't speak. Sorry, but between Japan and Switzerland, the job market or the labor market is different, since Japan has a lifetime type of vibe. Since it's let's say you have a job, you're gonna not be there forever. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but I'm saying it's possible, and for many people they have that, and it's pretty good. But compared to Switzerland, it's easier for people to find jobs, and it's easier to, I guess, to just work. So it's pretty good, even if you're at a specific age. Not like, let's say you're 10, but I think it's pretty good, since it could be any age. That's pretty good for many people. Um, Comparing both of them, both incomes and standard of living is high and have low corruption. So there's not really differentiating, sorry, both of them, but it's like they have similarities. But I think overall, having freedom in countries or just anywhere, it comes to a play in one's lifestyle, and the economic system does affect it. Meaning, let's say you have lower income, or just overall, just the play of money. I think that affects one's lifestyle, and I think it's important to learn about it. But this concludes to my presentation about Japan, sorry, Japan and Switzerland. And I hope this was educational and it really helped most of you guys. And thanks for listening, and have a good day or have a good night, depending what time you're looking at this. But thank you very much for your time, and goodbye. All right.